Hey guys, what's up? JK with PornReboot here. Today I'm going to talk about a topic that is not spoken about enough because there's an incredible amount of shame and guilt surrounding it. And that is porn and masturbation addiction and your sexual identity. Now, admittedly, this topic deserves a much longer, in-depth video, and what I'm going to say about it on this drive back from the gym is not going to do it justice. It does deserve a deeper video with a lot more scientific references. So I'm going to do that later. But in the meantime, I wanted to put this video out there as soon as possible because I know there are a lot of men out there who really struggle with this. Now, as you guys know, due to the novelty factor that we experience when watching pornography over a long period of time, many of us escalate our porn viewing to more taboo things. And not all of you have gotten to this point, but a portion of you have gotten to the point where you are watching gay pornography and you are watching transgender, transsexual, or shemale, as it's called, porn. And some of you have reached a point where this is the only thing that actually gets you aroused. Now, first of all, there is a condition known as HOCD, homosexual obsessive compulsive disorder, which is a legitimate disorder, which is a condition where you worry obsessively about your sexual orientation. And it does have something to do with OCD. That is a disorder. But we're starting to notice that a lot of men are inducing this in themselves because of their escalating porn use. The men that this video is for are those who are actually acting out, more so than those who are watching it. Some men have gotten to the point where they are actually questioning their sexuality. And this is what I have to say to you if you have gotten to that point. There is only one way to find out if you are actually gay or bi. And that's not by having sex with another man. That is by rewiring your brain and actually making an attempt to recover from your compulsive behavior with porn and masturbation. And then finding out if you're still aroused by that. I guarantee you that a huge number of you guys will not fall into that camp. A large number of you identify as straight. Now, I do have gay clients, and here's an interesting thing for my straight brothers out there from the perspective of gay men. A lot of gay men have told me that on their dating apps and on their dating sites, there are a lot of down low men. That is, men who think they are gay and try to engage in sexual encounters with gay men. And a lot of these gay men are frustrated because they have found out that many of these men are actually straight. Straight men who are addicted to pornography, and they find it easier to seek out physical sexual relationships with men because porn has conditioned them towards this than with women. Because it's challenging for the average porn addict to find a woman that he finds sexually attractive by the standards of pornography to have sex with. But there are gay men all over the place who are actually willing to have sex. And these gay men are very frustrated because a lot of these men keep reaching out for these sexual encounters but never follow through. The reason why they never follow through is not because there's a huge risk surrounding it. The reason why is because they're not all in. So listen, brothers, if you're not all in gay and you were not born that way and you only started having homosexual urges after you were watching pornography, then you are not gay. So stop hanging out on gay sites trying to get some and focus on rewiring your brain. There's a second group of guys who are actively acting out, but they're not acting out with gay men. They are acting out with transgender individuals, Shemales as it's called, but I believe they're all these politically correct terms to address individuals who identify with that gender. For those of you who are doing that, I get it. The transgender, transsexual individuals are oftentimes more feminine than the average woman because, for whatever reason, they are trying to be women or they are trying to identify as that. So they're going to put in a lot more effort into it. And men being men with our sex drives, we respond to highly feminine cues very strongly. So I get that. However, in my experience working with men, that is a very, very deep hole that you are digging yourself into. Because if you're acting out, I've noticed that men who are acting out, it takes them so much longer to recover. If you are acting out with transgender individuals, escorts, and you identified as a straight man up till this point in your life, up to a few years ago when your porn use escalated, you're putting yourself at risk, especially if you're married. And I know there's a huge portion of married men out there who solicit transgender prostitutes, and it has become a huge habit for you guys. It is going to destroy your marriage and your relationship in the worst way. I'll tell you a quick story. I won't tell you where I got this story from, though. There's a pregnant woman, and she's a nurse. She's always at work. Her husband goes out to work. They've been married for about 12 years, including dating. And one day, she goes out to work, and she feels sick because 8 months pregnant, she's almost due. And so for the first time ever in the history of her working, she decides to take the day off and come home. Now she knows that her husband watches pornography. And unfortunately, like most women, she doesn't think it's that big a deal. She's like, yeah, I know he watches porn, and I just let him do his thing because I don't think it's harmful. I think men just do that. That's something that men do. Very unfortunate for her. So she came back home and she heard all these sounds. And she was like, oh God, this guy is home. Maybe he hasn't left for work yet. So she just chilled in the living room and she was resting because she was feeling very faint. And the door opens, of their bedroom opens, and just this naked man walks out, followed by her husband. So turns out that her husband is having sex with another man. And they both yell, and there's a lot of commotion. She can't believe what's going on, but she keeps her composure. And the guy who walks out sees her, turns around, and punches her husband because he's seen that this man is married and his wife is due. And then he apologizes, he dresses up, he comes up to the wife and says, hey, I know this is messed up. I apologize. I didn't know that he was married, and I also didn't know that you were pregnant. And I know this is totally weird, but this is probably not the safest environment for you to be in right now. Let me get you some tea. I'm so sorry. And so she goes off with this guy. Just there's a cafe downstairs, and they have tea. And he tells her, listen, you need to leave this man because almost every day he has been having sex with different men and transgender individuals and inviting them to your place. And some of them, he's a sugar daddy to some of them. He pays them money, takes care of them. And the funny thing is he identifies as straight. Long story short, this woman goes back home and he's begging and crying, and she tells him to get out. Here's the story of this man from his end. This is a man who has always identified as straight. Always. But he just had a very serious pornography problem. Kept on watching porn. It escalated. And it escalated to the point that the only way that he could get aroused was through gay porn. And he indulged in it to the point that he started experimenting. And before he knew it, it became a habit. I know that for some of you, a story like this sounds very far-fetched. But if you've ever masturbated to shemale porn, then you've taken the first step in that direction. My main point for shooting this video is just to address the issue and tell you that you can recover. And a cautionary tale, which is the story I just told you, of a man who took that behavior too far and ruined his reputation in his community, ruined his marriage, and pretty much ruined every friendship, all the friendships that he and his wife had developed as a couple, all the friendships he had with his friends who thought he was straight, and his family, who was absolutely shocked and horrified because he comes from a conservative background. So this man pretty much lost everything. Don't be that man. I was speaking to a client a couple of months ago, and we were on the phone, and he just casually told me that he had been speaking to a therapist, and his therapist had let him know that there's this spectrum of our sexual orientation where everybody can be a little bit bi and a little bit straight. I agree with that. I know that many of us growing up maybe experimented with things like this, but as we matured into adults, we formed a very clear sense of our sexual orientation. But I'm starting to realize that there are therapists out there that are telling men that it's okay. You're bi. If you get aroused by shemale porn and gay porn, that you're bi and accept that. That's fucked up. Because while I'm sure there are men who that is the case for them, if you have a compulsive behavior with pornography, it is absolutely irresponsible for any professional to just tell you that. And I want you guys to be very, very careful when you seek help for this. It doesn't matter how much of a professional they are. It doesn't matter what long alphabets they have behind their name. If they do not understand the basics of porn and masturbation addiction, do not let these people lead you astray, because they are going to destroy your life. So please, please beware of these counselors and therapists who identify as sex positive. Just beware of them. I'm not saying that all of them are not the best professionals to reach out to. Some of them are amazing. But if they don't understand or they don't believe that there's something like porn addiction, stay away from them. That's my recommendation. So what I'm going to do for you guys, because I've arrived at my destination and I've just rambled about this topic, is I'm actually going to put together a more in-depth video covering this issue. And in the comments below, I would like you to leave your questions, your concerns, and your fears about this behavior. If you don't want to put it in the comments, send me an email, jkemezi@elevatedrecovery.org, and share your story. Everything that comes to me is confidential and very discreet. I would like to hear about it. You do not have to live in shame. You do not have to live with that guilt. You can rewire your brain and you can heal from this. Hundreds of men have done it, and you can do it too. I know some of you are out there because I receive your emails, and some of you have considered suicide because you acted out. Some of you are just filled with guilt and shame. Every morning you wake up going like, what did I do? Why did I do that? And some of you have even become addicted to that shame. You keep acting out in a way that is not congruent with your sexual orientation, and you don't know why you're doing it. And it just makes you feel terrible on the inside. Some of you just keep watching that porn, and every time you orgasm, you feel like shit, because this is not who you are, and this is not consistent with your values. I promise you that you can recover. The first step is opening up about it and sharing it. All right? I'm JK, your brother in this struggle, and I'll see you on the brighter side of recovery. Have a great day.